Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Dear Goddess. I am Kel Karuna, spiritual mentor, life transformation coach, somatic healer, best-selling author, international speaker, and your host of the Dear Goddess podcast. Friendly reminder, you are a divine, magical being, and this is the podcast where we upgrade our standards, stop settling, fall in love with ourselves, and not only create lives that we're obsessed with, but create lives that feel even better than they look. So if that sounds good to you, then you are in the right place. Another reminder, I love connecting with you. So please send me a message after you listen to the show. Let me know what your favorite takeaway was, what resonated with you, where you're at on your journey. And also, if this episode did resonate with you, then please leave a review of the show and share it with a friend because it really means the world to me and it helps the show reach more people. If you are watching the video episode, then you can see that we have a 4K camera now, which means we are official as fuck. Still set up with my fake fireplace background. I think it's real. It's just definitely not like an actual fire. But I believe it does produce heat, although it is summer, so we're not doing the fireplace thing, but it just feels so cozy to me. So let's start off with some general life updates, specifically that I climbed another mountain. If you listened to the last episode, then you are well aware that I am in my wilderness woman era, which means I have climbed two mountains in the past week and also went hiking and peed in the woods. So I am officially in my wilderness woman era. It's been an interesting era to say the least. I shared about the hike and my night camping in the last episode. And this week I did another hike. My sister asked if I wanted to join the sunset hike, and it was an immediate yes because I thought a sunset hike sounded so magical. And it actually ended up being one of the most terrifying experiences of my entire life. I still have some mild PTSD from it. And the interesting thing is that nothing actually happens. Like there was nothing traumatic that happened other than I remembered yet again that I have a pretty extreme fear of heights. Now, most of the hikes that I've done previously have pretty much all been with my sister because, as I mentioned, they're like the outdoors hiking family. And I love that for them. They love it. It's something that brings them joy and they get to do together as a family. And I get to tag along when I'm in Washington, which is honestly not that often. So most of the hikes that we've done together have been relatively easy. The first one that we did during this trip was challenging at the top only because that's where it was like more exposed. But overall, it was like pretty easy. We're not doing super strenuous hikes. I have my niece and two nephews that are there. So my youngest nephew is 6, maybe 7. Oh my goodness, I'm having like a not an auntie of the year moment. He's 6. He's going to be 7 later this year. I know this. But yeah, so the difficulty level has been appropriate for them. So I haven't really felt like fear on any of the hikes. I felt very safe. It's been a beautiful way to connect with nature. Although I love you, Pacific Northwest, but I'm still a beach girl. The beach is my soul's happiest place, but it's still really beautiful being in nature. It's just a different type of nature, like evergreen trees versus tropical plants, which give me a tropical plant and like the things it does to me, but it's still nature, love nature. And ultimately, as humans, we are nature. So when we're going into nature, we're connecting with ourselves. But on this particular hike, the sunset hike, it was very different than the other hikes that we've done, specifically because my sister said it was rated like a moderate difficulty level. I would put it as like challenging as fuck. Not because walking up the mountain was hard, like physically, it was not challenging at all. The hard part was the fact that it was this tiny ass path. So two people cannot walk at once. You have to walk single file because the path is like the size of one person. And there was nothing on the side. So all the other hikes that we've done have had like trees and shit on the side. So that way it kind of blocks the view in a way that you're not just like looking off of the mountain. But for this particular hike, it was all open, which sounds amazing until you have a fear of heights and you look over and it's just straight down a mountain. And also the path itself was kind of like sandy. It just felt slippery. Now, it wasn't actually slippery, but it seemed like it was slippery. And I don't have hiking shoes. I was wearing hiking shoes, but I borrowed them from my mom. So they didn't fully fit quite right. They were a little bit big. I felt like I was going to slip and slide right off of this mountain. And it was dysregulating to say the least. It took us quite a bit longer to get up to the top of the mountain. And it was kind of funny because at one point, these people were coming up and passing us. And the guy was like, "Is everything okay?" to me and my sister because she was with me for support and we were trailing behind because I was moving at a much slower pace than my brother-in-law, niece, and nephew. So they were up ahead and we were moving pretty slow because I was taking each step with such caution and I had my hiking sticks and these people were like, "Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's great. I'm just a bit dysregulated right now because I have a bit of a fear of heights, but like we're good. You can pass us." But we finally made it up to the top and we had dinner up there and it was beautiful. Like I can't even begin to describe the most breathtaking views at the top. It's like a full 360 of all the mountains because you're surrounded by the mountains. You see Mount Rainier, which is one of the biggest mountains in the area, significantly bigger than the one that we were on. So the one we were on was over 5,000 feet tall. Mount Rainier is like almost 15,000 feet. So it's like significantly bigger, but it's gorgeous to see. The sun is setting. And meanwhile, I feel like I can't even fully enjoy it because at this point, my nervous system is so dysregulated. Even being at the top was dysregulating because you're on the peak of a mountain. And I felt like I couldn't even move because I felt like I was just going to fall off, which the kids are moving with ease. And I'm like, is anyone else terrified and scared to death here or just me? And it really was just me. But as I'm up there and I'm surrounded by the most majestic scenery, it's incredible to see the way the sun is setting behind the mountains and the skies turning all kinds of incredible colors. And then the moon started to come out. It was a cutest little crescent moon and it was angled above Mount Rainier, the big mountain. And I'm like, this looks like a fucking postcard. And I feel like I can't fully like open up and take it all in because I was still in a dysregulated place. And that was just such a powerful reminder that nervous system dysregulation kind of makes your experience of life suck because your nervous system is responsible for your experience of life. And when you are in a dysregulated state, which most people are, and this is not a judgment, this is an observation. Most people are living in some state of chronic nervous system dysregulation for a few reasons. One, we're a human. Right now, in this current day and age, like, do you know what's happening collectively? Like, enough said. And let's also just take a moment to just send some love to the people in the world who are suffering and who are not experiencing the freedom that they deserve to live and feel. Okay. So, yeah, there's a lot of shit happening in our world right now. And we're also not taught how to support our nervous system, which is so fucked if you think about it. We have this incredible inner technology called our nervous system, which is the connection between our mind and our body and really determines our experience of life. And nobody teaches us how to use it. It's like, here you go. Good luck being a human. Let me teach you about the Pythagorean theorem. I don't know if that's how you say it because I haven't used it since I was in eighth grade. And yeah, the educational system and what we are taught is a whole different conversation. But yeah, we're not taught how our body works, especially how our nervous system works. And we don't know how to regulate it. We don't know how to support ourselves. So that leads us to living in chronic states of dysregulation. And then you add in trauma and experiences of life and stress and all kinds of things that are dysregulating, and we're ending up stuck in these dysregulated states. And we're not able to be fully present to the experience of our life. And then we have a goal or a vision or something we want to do. And we're like, why can't I do it? It's like, bitch, your nervous system is so dysregulated. You're trying to focus on your self actualization goals, and your nervous system does not care about your vision board right now. It cares about survival. And when I was on that top of the mountain, you best believe my nervous system was focused on survival because I felt like I was going to die, like truly, truly die. And then we have to go down, which I don't know if you've ever been hiking before. For me personally, I feel like going down is more challenging. It's also more challenging when it's getting dark. So a sunset hike is cool in theory until you're walking down the mountain in the dark. Now I had a headlamp on. Can you see it now? I'm like full hiking gear. Well, I had like leggings on, a t-shirt. I have borrowed hiking boots, borrowed hiking sticks, and now a borrowed headlamp. Except the batteries in mine were pretty much dead. So for a good part of it, I'm like trying to see where I'm going and I like literally cannot. And then finally, like I was able to get new batteries. So then that helped marginally. And my sister's there being so supportive, like truly such an angel. She was saying affirmations for me and providing reassurance, which definitely helped. But at the same time, you cannot talk yourself out of dysregulation because you can do all the affirmations in the world, but your body is going to be like, bullshit. We're in a crisis right now. Like, we're not safe. So it helped, but there was so much fear and so much dysregulation in my body. And then we got to the bottom, and I'm like, oh, I survived. I'm a fucking survivor. But it also reminded me this is literally how I live my life. It's like everything is giving me a perspective or some type of portal to journey deeper into myself. But this whole hiking up and down the mountain terrified reminded me that you don't get rid of fear. And so often when we try to get rid of fear, we're just creating more fear because what you focus on is what actually amplifies. Whatever you're giving your attention to is what's going to grow and amplify. So you don't get rid of fear. And the good news is you don't have to. You just need to develop courage. You just need to have courage and take that brave action, whether it's climbing up a mountain or leaving the relationship or having that difficult conversation or leaving the job or posting the Instagram reel that you are afraid to share because of visibility wounds and you don't want to hurt people's feelings and you're afraid to be seen, which all of these are very valid fears. But we don't need to get rid of them. We just need to develop courage. And then we get to look at what's present on a more deeper level. Having a regulated nervous system definitely helps because good luck doing the scary thing when your nervous system is already thinking that you're in a crisis and living in survival mode. So the regulated nervous system definitely helps. But it's also really important to do things outside of your comfort zone and to do things that scare the shit out of you. Another example of this was surfing. Surfing terrified me, especially at the beginning, and honestly, still now. Although I miss it so much, I can't wait to surf again sometime soon. But when we do things that scare us and we go into a bit of dysregulation, and then we're able to come back into regulation, that's really supportive for our nervous system. But when we're already dysregulated and then we're like layering on more dysregulation, like then we're just activating our system into crossing a threshold that's not going to be supportive. So, for example, if you are in a fight or flight response, and that's kind of your chronic state, so perhaps you experience this as irritation or anxiety or overthinking and racing thoughts or just feeling like you just cannot sit still and you need to just like immediately escape your environment. These are all signs of your body being in a fight or flight response. And there are so many triggers that activate our nervous system. And if we're already stuck in that state, then we're just layering on more dysregulation because our body literally thinks that there is a saber-toothed tiger out to get us and we need to run or we need to fight in order to survive and to stay safe because our nervous system cares about survival. It doesn't care about the vision board or the goals or living your dream life. No, it cares about keeping your ass alive. So if we're already thinking that like there's a saber-toothed tiger chasing us and we're not safe, and then we do something more activating, well, what do you think is going to happen then? We're going to dysregulate our already dysregulated system. Probably not super supportive. So, learning about your nervous system is truly a game changer in your life. It was for me personally. And it was really one of the missing pieces on my own personal journey for so long, the nervous system regulation and the somatic healing aspect, which is ultimately why I did my certification to become a trauma informed somatic practitioner specializing in the female nervous system, because not all nervous systems are created equal. And most of the somatic work that you see online is really focusing on the male nervous system. And there are nuances for the female nervous system because, hello, we have a goddess nervous system. It's not the same as a regular nervous system, but leaning into fear and doing things that scare you and also honoring and supporting your nervous system is such an important part of growth. I also had this other metaphor that came through when I was climbing the mountain. And this whole journey of life, this journey of spirituality, of healing, of self discovery, of transformation, it really is like climbing this metaphorical mountain. Now, imagine you're climbing this mountain towards your goals, towards your evolution, towards your expansion. How much harder would it be to climb this mountain if you were carrying every single item that you have ever owned? Like in a big ass backpack. How impossible would that feel? It'd feel pretty fucking hard. And yet, that's exactly what we do in life because we're just carrying around all of our emotions and pain and shame and all of the shit from the past that we have suppressed and haven't felt because, again, no one really taught us how to do this shit. Like, where's the manual on how to be a human? Well, this is part of it, but it's so much more challenging. It takes so much energy to drag that shit with you and also to suppress it. But when you unpack that shit, aka heal, then you get to use that energy that you have spent not just suppressing and avoiding, but dragging it with you and also just recreating the past, you then get to use that energy to actually create the life you desire to live. You get to use that energy to climb the mountain. And then when you get to the top, the view is going to look a lot different because you're not exhausted. And sure, you can force and you can effort and you can push yourself when you're carrying all that shit. I did. And let me tell you what, it leads to burnout. It leads to not a very pleasant or enjoyable hike, trek through the journey of life. And then you get up to the top and it's like, oh, this doesn't even feel that good because I feel like shit because I still got all the shit from the past with me. So unpack it, let it go. This is the journey of transformation. This is the journey of healing. And it changes your entire experience of life. And then you get to the top of the mountain and your nervous system is regulated and you get to look around and you see the view. And then you realize it was never about getting here. It was about the journey and who I became. And now there's another mountain and we just keep climbing forever and ever. So that was the hiking experience. I survived. I may not get invited on another hike, and I am honestly okay with that. Well, that's not true. I would love to go on another hike. We just need to be a little bit more selective because this is not a fear that I am choosing to overcome. I'm okay with having a fear of heights. It's not something that is really limiting my life or the life that I desire to live. I prefer to navigate other fears that are a bit more relevant to the vision that I have for myself and my life. So I'm okay with having this fear of heights. I accept it. Maybe that'll change at some point in the future. But for now, like I'm good with being a bit more selective with the hikes. It's interesting because I was asking my sister, I'm like, are you chill right now? Because I'm not feeling that chill. She knew, everyone knew I was not that chill. And she's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, you're not worried about the children? She's like, no, like we're all good. We're fine. We're safe. You're safe. And I'm like, I thought hiking was supposed to be like a calming and regulating experience because this is not it. It felt more of like an extreme sport. And some people really, really enjoy that. It's also interesting how people have different fears because not everyone has a fear of heights. Pretty sure I had some type of traumatic experience with heights in a past life. I haven't fully connected with it, but I just feel it so deeply, this terror of heights. But yeah, that's not really a fear that I feel called to overcome. Now, surfing, absolutely. The fear of the water, the fear of falling, like that whole thing. That's a fear I want to lean towards. The fears that come up within my business, because if you are a spiritual entrepreneur or stepping into living a life of purpose, that's all a mirror. It's going to reflect back every limiting belief, every fear, every subconscious pattern, like journey in and of itself. I never really considered myself to be an adventurous or risky person, at least when it comes to adventure sports. And I don't know if you would really say that hiking is an adventure sport. That hike felt like an adventure sport, but surfing definitely is. I feel I am more of the risk taker where I'll like quit my career and move across the world to a country I've never been to. But honestly, that didn't really feel like a risk. Like the bigger risk felt like not doing that. Yeah, it's just interesting how everyone has their own fears and you get to decide which fears you lean in towards. But ultimately, in order to live the life that you desire to live, it's going to require courage and it's going to require you to live bravely and to actually move towards that. I'm still loving this wilderness era, my wilderness woman era, minus the terrifying experience. And I definitely still prefer the beach and tropical waterfall hikes over hikes up a mountain, but still really grateful for the experience and that I got to spend time with family and have a sunset picnic on top of a mountain. It was pretty incredible and also incredibly terrifying. I have also been deep in study with the Rose and Mary Magdalene. So if you're not familiar with Mary Magdalene, get ready because she is a divine feminine ascended master and she's been one of my greatest mentors for the past few years, but I'm like deep in a study with her now. And she is the female Christ consciousness. So she was Jesus, who Jesus's real name was actually Yeshua, and they were partners and truly divine union. And she is such a magical being. And I've been studying with her and the Rose, which are all representative of the divine feminine. And it's been such a beautiful journey. So I'm doing a rose dieta right now and enjoying my rose tea every single morning. And I have so many rose elements that I'm incorporating into my life right now. And I can feel it so deeply. The codes I'm receiving, especially from the weed ceremony. So if you listen to the last episode, I shared how I smoked weed for the first time in probably over 3 years and how it was one of the most profound spiritual experiences of my entire life. Well, I did two more weed ceremonies, and the first one was on Monday. And I was so excited about it because I'm like, okay, in the very first weed ceremony that I had, it was like full on, like full body orgasms for hours and just channeled messages from my pussy. I know, wild. And just the most pleasure I've ever experienced in my entire life. And quantum healing and recalibrating and so much awareness and divine downloads. It was the juiciest and most delicious experience. So I'm like, let's do that again. And the first weed ceremony I shared was really similar to my first ceremony with Bufo. And the second weed ceremony was very similar to my second Bufo ceremony. And I have a whole episode on that. And basically it was kind of like hell again, another journey into hell, except it's just my own egoic patterns. I can see how I try to control the outcome. I'm like, we're gonna do it the exact same way, and we're gonna just feel a lot of pleasure, and this is what's happening. When you're working with plant medicines and also just life in general, we don't get to control the outcome. We are controlling the outcome, but we're not controlling the outcome. And when we surrender to not being able to control the outcome, it's actually when we're able to control the outcome. But ultimately, I tried to recreate the entire experience, and pretty much all that happened was my ego was amplified and turned up so loud. And I could literally see how my thoughts were being imposed onto my present reality and creating my present reality. And I was feeling quite a bit of anxiety and fear. And it was just my own egoic patterns being amplified. So that journey was really about meeting those parts of myself with compassion. So after that, I was like, okay, remember to release your attachment to the outcome and to let the experience unfold. The second weed ceremony I did this week, which was technically the third one, was last night. And this one, I was much more open to letting the medicine work in whatever way it needed to. I did set my intentions, of course, but I was more open to receive. And wow, it was profound. It was all about living a turned on life and channeled messages from my pussy. I'm literally channeling new programs, all about using pleasure as a tool for healing, which it makes sense because I'm studying with Mary Magdalene and she was all about sensuality and sex magic. And she was a tantric priestess. So all of this is just coming into my field so strongly, and it's freaking me out, like in the best way possible. I'm receiving so much clarity about the work I'm meant to be doing in this world, and it's all rooted in pleasure and using pleasure as a tool for transformation and healing. And it's freaking me out because it's going to require me to explore some edges, like talking about these channeled messages from my pussy and normalizing these conversations and really stripping away even deeper levels of conditioned shame associated with pleasure so that not only I can be more embodied in my own pleasure and creating a turned on life, but helping other women do the exact same. So it's freaking me out as I'm being called to stretch and expand, but it also feels so good, especially as I am deepening my devotion to living a pleasure led life. And I have so much to share, so much to say about that. So stay tuned. Like, spoiler alert, there's going to be new programs coming to connect with your pleasure, to live an orgasmic life, to live a turned on life, to heal from toxic relationships, to not just heal from toxic relationships, but to create your most turned on life. And this has nothing to do with sex and could have something to do with sex, but ultimately pleasure is about feeling good in your body. And I share more about this in the last episode, but there's going to be lots more that I'm sharing going forward because this is just very present and alive for me right now. But despite receiving all of these pleasure codes, I'm in a season of transition. And I would be lying if I said that this transition from Bali has been easy. It's actually been quite challenging for more than a few reasons. One, I love Bali so much. I love my life there. I'm missing all of my favorite places and all of the people that I used to see every day and the Balinese and the locals and my beach dogs. There's so much that I'm missing about my life in Bali. And I'm currently in suburbia. I am not really in an area where I would choose to be, but I'm choosing to be here to visit family. I'm not near a beach. It's not walkable. I love being able to just walk to places. Driving 20 minutes to go to a cafe or a coffee shop where I'm like, the food's not even that good here. And hello, have you ever had a matcha with homemade almond milk from BGS? Like, it ruins me in the best possible way. But I'm like, I don't really want to drive to go to places where I don't even really want to be. And so I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. I don't have my community here. I love being around like-minded and open-hearted people, and I don't feel that sense of community here. And it's just a very different reality that I'm living in. Like, let's be honest, the US is not the same as Bali. And I don't have all of my favorite things, all of my favorite places. I don't have my favorite gyms and Pilates studios. I'm still navigating jet lag. And I've noticed my energy being really funky. I also noticed myself starting to blame my environment. And while there is truth that your environment and where you live and who you surround yourself with absolutely plays a role and impacts every level of your well being. I don't know about you, but I also don't want to be a victim of my environment. I don't want to only feel aligned or inspired or creative or connected when I'm in certain places. That's not the reality I want to live in. I don't want to only feel aligned with the divine and my higher self when I'm in Bali. I want to be sovereign and to be able to feel that regardless of where I am and to not let my environment control and dictate my internal state. Now, this is not to discredit the role that your environment plays in your life. And that's something to get really curious about and to almost like take inventory of is how does my environment impact me? Because if there are relationships that are not aligned or perhaps even toxic, maybe it's your job, maybe it's where you live, you might need to make some changes. And that's going to require you to get really, really honest with yourself. But at the same time, it's empowering to be able to have that ability to not be so influenced by what's happening around you. My energy has just been feeling super stagnant lately. And I wanted to share some of the tools and practices that I've been using to support me during this season. It's not really like a funk. Like these practices will be supportive for you if you just feel like you're in a bit of a funk. But for me, this feels less of like a funk. What a weird word. Anyway, funk. Like who made that word up? But this feels more like a period of transition and honestly just not really being where I want to be. I also recognize that this season serves a purpose. So let's just start off by normalizing this. These seasons of transition, the void, the space in between, where you weren't fully who you were and you're not fully who you're going to be, and what was is no more, but what will be is not yet. It's a lot on your nervous system, your body, your mind, your inner child, your identity, and your soul. And yet, we're kind of always in the space in between. So, let's just share this gentle reminder that it's normal to feel off, it's normal to feel disoriented and untethered when you're in between worlds. But the first thing that is important when you are in these seasons of transition or you're just in that funk or you feel like you're not where you want to be is to take responsibility. So we're going to start off with some tough love because I care about you and I love you. I don't want you to be the only thing in your own way. We are always creating our reality. Our external world is just a reflection of our inner reality. It's all a mirror. It's just you seeing yourself in each and everything and each and every person. And what you're not changing or choosing. Let's say that again. What you're not changing, you're choosing. And so often it's easier to blame our environment than it is to get really honest about the changes that we need to make within ourselves. So notice what your environment is mirroring to you. And for me, I have been feeling really stuck and just the sense of feeling trapped. Like, I don't want to go out. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't really want to just hang out in the house all day. I prefer to be around people and having energy around me. Like, I love that. I've just been feeling this sense of just feeling really, really trapped. And using this as a mirror, also showing me how I am creating this illusion of feeling stuck and trapped in other areas of my life. And it's also showing me how I'm still attached and addicted to my own suffering, which this is the ego. And this is probably one of the most challenging addictions to overcome, to transcend the human condition, to be addicted to our own suffering, to our own struggles. So, what your external environment is mirroring back to you is going to provide you with some really, really powerful reflections if you're willing to see it, because the truth can feel really fucking blinding, but only it can set you free. But this requires us to take responsibility. Now, responsibility is not the same as blame, shame, or judgment because we're still in a victim consciousness when we're blaming anything, and that includes ourselves. This is really about getting honest with yourself and looking at what's being mirrored back in your current reality. We always have two options in life. We can make a change. And if we're not willing or able to make a change, then we can change how we view things. So for me, I am choosing to be here. I'm choosing to be in Washington, in this specific part of Washington, spending time with family. That doesn't mean I'm spending time with family 24/7. So it means that I have some space for myself, at least for now, because my parents are actually arriving tonight with Murphy. If you don't know who Murphy is my parents' dog, and his parents are actually two of my old dogs. So you might be familiar with my story. I was once upon a past life in this life. It feels like so many past lives ago, but I was married and I had four golden doodles that were literally my entire heart and soul for a few reasons. One being of the dynamics of my life. I was in an emotionally abusive and toxic as fuck marriage, and my life was very, very controlled because I gave away my personal power and I didn't really have friends. I like wasn't allowed to have friends. So those dogs were my sole companions and friends in life. And also too, I still had such extreme patterns of codependency where it was a very like codependent relationship, but I did not get custody of them in the divorce. And oh my goodness, that broke my heart for years. But we also had a dog. This is so weird. And so it's like, do you ever look back in life and it's like, first of all, how did I survive that? And also, like, how did that even happen? At one point when I was married, the man I was married to and we had a dog breeding business, and the very last litter of puppies was Murphy's litter. So I've known Murphy for every single second of his life. We have the same birthday, and also his parents are two of my dogs that I used to have. So we have a very special connection. Murphy just graduated from his service dog training, and I saw the graduation pictures. It was so cute. He's wearing this actual graduation cap, but now he gets to fly in an airplane. So they'll be arriving tonight and I'm staying at their house. So it's going to be different energy here because now it's not like I'm living alone and have my own space. So that's going to be another transition. Anyway, back to the two options we have in life. We can make a change or we can change how we see it. So for me, I'm not willing to make a change right now because I want to be here. I'm choosing to be here. Now I will be taking some little trips here and there, and then I'm going to be moving in a few weeks anyway. So my option is to change my perspective and to change my experience. So the first way to do that is to notice where you are complaining. I've been complaining a lot, complaining to myself, complaining to my friends, complaining about everything that's wrong here and all the things I don't like. And this is not about suppressing your experience, but complaining is actually keeping you stuck in it because you are just reinforcing the mind's natural tendency to focus on what's wrong, to focus on what's not working, to focus on what you don't like. And as I mentioned previously in this episode, wherever your focus is what it's going to expand. Your energy flows where your attention goes. That's a Tony Robbins quote. The OG of personal development right there. So if you're continuously talking about what's wrong and what you hate and what you don't like and how there's none of your favorite things are here, well, you're going to see more of that. This is not about suppressing. Like if you feel like you have shit to say, get it out, but intentionally get it out. Clear it from your field. Maybe this looks like journaling. Maybe this looks like recording a voice note on your phone and then deleting it and ripping the paper up and clearing it from your field, getting it out energetically and then letting go. Because the more that you talk about the shit that you don't like, the more that you're going to be reminded that there's a lot of shit that you don't like. During these seasons of transition and when you're feeling a bit off, it's also really important to move your body and to really support and honor your body. So first and foremost, always honor your cycle. If I used to work out 3 times a day, every day, no days off, regardless of where I was in my cycle. In fact, for quite some time, I did not even have a cycle because my hormones and nervous system and body were so dysregulated. But even when my cycle came back, I was still using exercise as a coping mechanism. So I was working out 3 times a day, no days off. That's not honoring your body and adjusting your lifestyle and cycle syncing and honoring your inner seasons is so important to not just connect with your divine feminine power, but also to live a life in harmony with yourself. So honor where you're at in your cycle, but move your body. When I came here, I was actually on my cycle. Well, that's not true. I started it like the very next day after I arrived, and it was actually on Mary Magdalene's feast day, which just felt so divine and also just divine with entering this new chapter. After that, I realized I wasn't really moving my body. And in Bali, I would do beach workouts. I would go to Pilates classes and different workout classes. And I'm like, oh, I'm like not even like getting steps in or moving my body in ways that feel good. after recognizing that, it's like, of course, my energy is going to feel suppressed and kind of stuck and sticky and stagnant because I'm kind of being stagnant. So I've been dancing more. I did a home workout the other day. It was like a surf workout. And I'm like, let me practice my surfing on land. And that was fun. But I've been to the gyms here before. I used to live in this area when I first moved to Washington. Back in 2018, when I did the whole move across the country and restart your life after leaving an emotionally abusive and toxic as fuck marriage, this is where I lived because I was living with my sister because I was essentially broke in every possible way, not just financially when the then abusive, now ex-husband withdrew every penny from our joint accounts, but also just spiritually and emotionally. I was still learning how to use rock bottom and challenges in life as a catalyst for change and transformation. But I was living with my sister, so I was living in this area because I was literally broke. Like, I did not have the resources to get my own place. And I'm very, very grateful that my family was willing to literally just support me in every possible way and open their home to me. But I've gone to the gyms in this area before and I just don't love them. So, again, that's what I'm choosing. If I'm choosing not to get a gym membership, even if it's a temporary one, then let me find some things that I actually enjoy to move my body, to support my body. And also, my sleep has been off, which makes sense because of jet lag and I'm literally moving across the world. There's a 15-hour difference. But at the same time, if I'm not moving my body and I'm not honoring my body, well, that's going to be impacting my sleep as well. And sure, I could blame jet lag, but also let me acknowledge my role and responsibility in this. So make sure you're moving your body in ways that feel good. And who knows, maybe I will end up getting a gym membership for a few weeks. Maybe I won't. That's not as important as just really making sure that you are moving your body in ways that feel good and ways that also honor your body and honor your cycle. Supporting your nervous system is so important, not just during these transitions and when you're feeling kind of off, but honestly, always, because as I mentioned, this is your technology. Imagine trying to use a computer and you have no idea how this computer works. You're going to feel really fucking frustrated. And that's essentially what happens with our life and our experience of life when we don't know how to work with our own inner technology. So, your nervous system helps create internal safety. And when we're going through seasons of change, seasons of transition, seasons where things just kind of feel off, that can feel very triggering for our nervous system because things are shifting. There might be uncertainty. We're not really feeling that great. Those can be perceived as threats. So, up leveling how you're supporting your nervous system is so important to come back to that place of connection, of groundedness, of creating internal safety for yourself. And a few ways that I'm doing this now, in addition to my regular regulation rituals, are I'm creating micro rituals, creating these moments throughout the day where I am tuning in with how I'm feeling, doing daily nervous system and body check ins, asking my body, what do I need? How am I feeling? What do I need to feel 2% safer, more aligned, more connected, and just listening without trying to fix it. Just listening, tuning in, connecting with what's present for you, checking in with what you're feeling and what your experience is and what you need. I'm also using more of my regulation rituals. I like to call them rituals because that sounds more fun than just a regulation, a nervous system regulation practice or routine. Rituals feel more intentional and just rich and juicy. So I've been doing more of my regulation rituals, some of which have been really targeting my vagus nerve. So your vagus nerve is the main cranial nerve responsible for activating your parasympathetic nervous system. It's an important part of nervous system regulation. So, a few of these activities humming, singing, chanting, cold exposure, shaking, dancing. These are some practices, but nervous system regulation is not a one size fits all approach. So, I invite you to connect with a somatic practitioner and someone who has experience in the nervous system to help you understand how your nervous system works and to help you identify specific practices that are going to be supportive for you. And hi, that's me. I can help you do that. Also, grounding is really important to help you connect to the earth, to come back into your body, to shift out of your mind. And there's also energetic benefits of that as well. Speaking of energetic benefits, this is a really important time to turn up your energetic hygiene. Even if you're not in a season of contraction or transition or feeling kind of funky and off, energetic hygiene is important always, especially when there's a lot of fucked up shit happening in the world that we live in. And if you're not familiar with energetic hygiene, we are energetic beings. So let's get quantum for a minute. We are made up of atoms. This is not woo, this is science. We're made up of atoms. We live in a 3D world. The 3D world is comprised of matter, and matter is made up of atoms. Now, when you look at the structure of an atom, it's 99.9% energy. So we are energetic beings. Again, not woo, this is science. We're not taught how to support ourselves from an energetic perspective. We're taught physical hygiene, we're taught to brush our teeth, and we're taught to take showers, but we're not really taught how to take care of ourselves energetically to maintain, preserve, and protect and cleanse our energetic bodies. So, having energetic hygiene practices is so important, as is prioritizing your self care. So, it is 2025 when I am recording this, and it's also August 2nd when I'm recording this, which you might be like, cool, it's August 2nd. Today's a very significant day because it happens to be my main spirit guide's birthday. So, one of my main spirit guides is my grandma, who on my dad's side, to my dad's mom, and she was born on August 2nd and she transitioned on October 22nd. She was 94 when she transitioned, and that was in 2014. So I think she'd be like 103 or 104 now. But I discovered that she was one of my main spirit guides back in 2022. And there's an episode of Dear Dumb Bitch where I share all about that because it's a really interesting story. But today's a special day because of that. But anyway, as I'm recording this, it's the year 2025. Depending on when you're listening to this, it could be 2026, 2027, who the fuck knows. But we're kind of beyond self care. We need to claim self devotion. That's the level of self care that we are calling in and claiming for ourselves, especially because we are goddesses. So we need to be taking exquisite care of ourselves, especially when we are in these seasons of stickiness, transition, and all the things. So make sure you're meeting your basic needs. It sounds so simple, but often it's during these periods where that gets pushed aside and then we're not eating foods that support us. Maybe we're eating too much. Maybe we're not eating enough. Maybe we're eating more processed foods or foods that don't really work for our body. Maybe our sleep is off. Maybe we're not drinking enough water. I'm like literally calling myself out right now because I definitely have not been drinking enough water. My sleep has been off. Food has been good. I've been cooking for myself because in Bali, I didn't cook at all because there were so many incredible options to eat out and have really, really healthy foods. And here, that just doesn't exist. Not to mention, it's financially feasible to do that in Bali because it would probably cost me more to go to the store and buy the same quality ingredients and then make it myself than it would to just go out. It just doesn't make sense. So I've been cooking more. I personally don't love cooking, but it has felt really good to be taking care of myself and to be nurturing myself and nurturing my body. So make sure you're eating foods that are supporting you and supporting your energy and honoring your body, honor your boundaries. So sometimes we need to adjust our boundaries during these seasons. Look at what you're saying yes to, look at what you're saying no to. And remember, every time you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And oftentimes we're saying no to ourselves. So this is the time where it's really important to look at where perhaps you might be abandoning yourself and to not do that. So look at what boundaries you might need to implement or you might need to adjust to really make sure you're taking exquisite care of yourself. It's also important to create meaningful connections. So in Bali, I had friends, I had community around me, I had people that I knew that I would see every single day. I would have really meaningful conversations and connections. I would meet new people every day because it's just such a vortex. Here, I mean, there were a few days where I didn't even leave the house, and that is not typical for me. I like being out and about and I enjoy it. Although in some ways it has felt a bit cozy having my own space here, but it's really important not to just hibernate and disconnect from the world. Now, depending on what season you're in, it might be a time for more introspection rather than being more social and going out and things like that and just being more outgoing. But at the same time, as humans, we have needs for connection. So when we completely disconnect and close ourselves off from that, it's not going to support our energy and our well-being. So for me, this looks like connecting with some of my soul sisters and sending voice messages and really intentionally cultivating that connection. Connecting with pleasure is also so important always. I've mentioned the pleasure codes that are coming through during this season of my life, and oh, yeah, it's juicy. I can't wait to share more with you. But connecting with pleasure is so important always because how do you expect to live a life that feels good if you're not connecting with pleasure? And here's the thing, even when we don't necessarily love our current reality or the season that we're in, pleasure is always available. It's always available. And not every season in your life is going to be about expansion and being in overflow. And this is also not about gaslighting yourself. So it's not about just telling yourself, oh, this feels so good. And like, I just love my life right now. If you don't lie to yourself. You're not fooling anyone. And it's actually really detrimental to your self trust and to other aspects in the relationship with yourself. So this isn't about telling yourself, like, oh, it just feels so good, but it's about getting curious and it's about intentionally inviting in pleasure and connecting with it in whatever way is possible. So this could be connecting with gratitude and what is working and focusing on what you do like. Again, this goes back to the complaining part. So it's not about gaslighting yourself, but it's about choosing what you're focusing on. And it's also about connecting with internal pleasure, even when external joy and external pleasure feels distant and far away. Because ultimately, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be reliant and dependent on my external environment to feel good. I want to feel good and have life reflect that back. So connect with what feels good, connect with your body, connect with create practices and create moments of pleasure and opportunities to connect with pleasure. And again, this is not about avoiding emotion. So the next thing that's important, the next practice to really support you during these seasons is to feel your shit. Because you can't just tell yourself that everything is great and roses and rainbows and butterflies if you don't feel that way. I mean, you can tell yourself that, but you're not going to believe it. You're like, bitch, what are you talking about? Like, no, it's not. And the way we shift out of this is you actually have to feel what you feel. So maybe it's anger, maybe it's frustration, sadness, grief, especially the grief. Honor the grief. It's sacred. Whatever it is, it's valid, it's normal. We judge our emotions so much, like, but I should be grateful and I shouldn't feel this way and I should be over that by now and at least this. But it's like, no, just feel what you feel without creating a story around it. Feel it. It's valid. And you can hide it, you could suppress it. It's not going away. Emotions are energy in motion. It wants to move, it wants to flow. Can't actually release emotions, but we can't alchemize them. And that's how they transform. And that's how they transmute and change form. So, whatever it is, feel it, but feel it because most of the time when we think we're feeling, we're actually thinking and we're in our minds and we're processing and we're analyzing and we're thinking about it and trying to figure it out. And that's not feeling, that's looping and staying stuck in your shit. If you're not really sure how to feel with your body, that's another episode because we still have more to cover here. And that's like a whole episode in and of itself. So stay tuned for that episode. And also don't wait, reach out to someone. Hi, that's me. I can support you. I'm a trauma informed certified somatic practitioner. I help you learn how to feel in a way that feels safe. And I can tell you, I spent most of my life suppressing and avoiding, mostly because as an empath and a highly sensitive being, I feel so much. So then what happens is when we feel pain, when we feel trauma, and we don't know how to move through it in a safe way, we close off and we disconnect. But feel your shit, feel your emotions. And then coming back to this pleasure aspect, so invite in pleasure, make your life a vibe, like get out of the pity party. I was in the pity party for a bit. There were a few moments, and it's like, okay, have a moment, let it be a moment, but don't let it be a major moment and let your life be a vibe. So maybe this looks like putting on music that you just love and feels good. I've been listening to a lot of Fred again this week and a lot of medicine music because there really is no in between. That's pretty much what I'm always listening to. Medicine music and like in full on like ceremony frequencies or Fred again, which for me is also medicine music and a full on ceremony. But this could look like dancing while you cook. It could look like lighting a candle. It could look like making your cup of tea an actual ritual. Make your matcha like it's a sacred potion. Take yourself on a nature walk with a playlist that makes you feel magical and just romanticize everything. It's like, how could I make whatever it is that I'm doing more of a vibe, more fun, more exciting, more divine? So make your life a vibe. And that takes the intention and also takes a commitment to yourself. Another way to do this is to turn up your rituals. So when you have rituals in your life, and rituals are the way of the divine feminine, I go deep into teaching about rituals in my one-on-one programs, but also in Goddess Codes, which is my feminine embodiment and healing program. But when you have rituals in your life becomes a ceremony, and rituals are really just beautiful, intentional practices that allow you to connect with yourself and to connect with the divine. So, yeah, when you're feeling a bit disconnected and life is lifing and you're feeling kind of scattered and sticky and stagnant and you're feeling disconnected, that's the time to reconnect because so often we just try to push through the disconnection and we're pushing through the resistance and creating more resistance. But the only thing to do when you're disconnected is to reconnect. Rituals allow you to do that. Also, connecting with your body because our body holds so much intelligence, so much wisdom, and it's always sending us messages. But when we're not present with our body, we're missing out on these messages and we are not using that to really understand ourselves on deeper levels, to meet our needs on deeper levels. Okay, we have a few more practices that I've been using that I want to share to that can also support you. So doing something creative. So for me, this has been journaling, which painting and taking pictures and dancing. So doing something creative, tapping into your creative energy and also play, letting yourself have fun and inviting in that frequency of fun into your life. Also, doing something different and trying new things. This is so important to switch up the energy because so often we just keep taking the past and imposing it on the present. And it's like, it doesn't fit, first of all, unless we want more of the, that's not going to be the ideal strategy. But as we are changing and in a season of transition, what worked then probably isn't going to work now. And if we just keep taking what was and putting it onto what is, then what will be is going to be more of the same. So this is not only important to just switch up the energy, but also to create a future that looks any different from your past. So, yeah, there will be things that support you, but switch it up, try new things, do something different to just shift your energy. Something else, this is a fun one, is you can make a joy altar. So that way you have just a visual reminder of things that bring you joy, things that bring you bliss and pleasure and a reminder of the beauty that's coming and that you are creating now because we think that like it's some arbitrary point in the future where we're going to feel joy, bliss, pleasure, whatever it is. But ultimately, the future is now. We're creating it, all of it now. So the more that we can invite it in to the now, the more that we're going to connect with that frequency of whatever it is that we desire. And that's when we become a match for it. And that's going to enhance your experience of life right now. Spending time in nature is another really beautiful practice because, as I mentioned, we are nature. So it allows us to connect with ourselves. It's also so supportive for the nervous system. So these are some of the practices that I've been using that I felt called to share to support you during different seasons as well. Ultimately, you want to allow yourself to be present and to be fully where you are and to embrace where you are, but to also connect with what's next. So you can ask yourself, how can I be the portal? Because you are the portal, you are the catalyst. And ext rather than seeking energy outside of you, let it move through you. Become the catalyst, come the portal. Remember that you are the creator of your reality. You might need to make some changes, and that's beautiful. It can feel scary, but ultimately, fear is usually showing us exactly where we're meant to go. So these seasons are important, but how you navigate them is everything. And they're meant to be seasons. They're meant to be times of transition, times of change. But some people get stuck in them and call it their life. And there's nothing wrong with that because we all have our own unique and beautiful journey. But if you're here and you're listening to this show, then that tells me that you have a higher calling. You are here, you are on a journey of expansion and your soul's evolution. So we need to honor that and we need to support it because it doesn't happen on its own. Regardless of what season you are in, this is temporary. That's the good news and the bad news. Nothing lasts forever. So this is temporary. You are not stuck. You are just recalibrating. And this is a season of integration. Regardless of what season you're always in a season of integration because you're always coming from something and moving towards something. So that space in between is the integration. So what if this space was just the exhale after the expansion or the exhale after the contraction? And it's in these seasons that we're often shown a lot of contrast. And while contrast doesn't always really feel that good in the moment, it's so important because contrast clarifies and contrast teaches. And contrast shows you what it is you do desire and perhaps showing you what you don't want. So you're remembering who you are by noticing what's not aligned, and then you get to shift and adjust accordingly. So these seasons, what you're experiencing, it really is your power returning because only when you can feel turned on by life from within that you become unfuckwithable. And that's really what I want and desire for all of us. That's the life that we deserve to live. And it's the life that we get to live, but we have to choose it. But a life where you just feel turned on and alive and you are unfuckwithable because no matter what's happening around you, you're good and you are sourcing from within and not reliant on what's external of yourself. Okay, so that feels complete for this episode. If you have made it to the end, then I am celebrating you for being here, celebrating you for choosing yourself and for prioritizing yourself and seeing you on this journey. Send me a message. Let me know how this episode resonated with you. Let me know what season you're in, what you're navigating through, what feels challenging, what feels exciting. I love connecting with you. It just lights me up. So send me a message. I also send out bonus journal prompts and embodiment rituals for every episode. So the link will be in the show notes so you can receive that. If you are interested in learning more about my coaching programs to not just heal from the past, but to create a turned on life that feels even better than it looks, that link will be in the show notes as well. And I also offer somatic healing ceremonies to support you on your journey. Again, thank you with all of my heart. Thank you for being here. It's such an honor to be able to create this for you and share it with you. And I'm so grateful for you. I love you so much. And I'll see you next week.